Welcome back, crew. We got Bitcoin that is sitting on a powder keg. And what do I mean by that? Well, open interest just hit a 2-year high. Funding rates have gone up slightly. Price hasn't moved an inch yet, but that's a recipe for explosive volatility. We're going to break it all down in this video. The upside or the flush of the longs in a liquidation cascade if it happens. So make sure that you come on over and you give us a like. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you follow us on X, where we talk about Bitcoin and crypto all day, every day. All right, let's get right into it. What the heck are you talking about, Tom? Sure, the chart that we're looking at here, liquidity sweeps on both sides, right? Okay, so open interest has surged to a 2-year high, showing a huge amount of capital is committed to Bitcoin derivatives, futures, and perpetual swaps. This reflects market participation and conviction, but it doesn't say, by itself, directional bias, just that big players are positioning. So when the funding rates, let's check out the funding rates, because you got to really look deeply. If we look at the funding rates, we could see that, longs are paying shorts to keep their positions open. Small uptick, not extreme, tells us that traders are leaning bullish, but not yet in a euphoric over leveraged territory. So we got a buildup here that we have to make sure that we pay attention to for sure in Bitcoin. All right. So right now, it's not an over leveraged territory yet. Price hasn't moved much despite all the leverage piling in, but it's starting to gear up to do it. What's happening right now, there's a tension that's being created. Either Bitcoin's going to break higher and squeezes the shorts, or funding keeps rising while price stalls, leading to a long squeeze. So we got both sides happening, and we're going to map it all out. But historically, open interest and high funding plus a flat price is definitely a recipe for volatility. All right, so I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth. We're gonna cover both of these on the short term. We're gonna get into a little bit of the long term, but this is really opens a way to violent liquidation. So bullish case, and we're gonna get into the charts and talk about the bullish case itself. Bitcoin, we crack 116.5. Open interest could fuel a short squeeze rally towards higher ranges pretty quickly. And we're talking about like 119, 120. All right. Bearish case. If the spot breaks right now, say at what the 109, 108 level, those crowded longs could become forced sellers, accelerating a flush down to like 105. But either way, volatility expansion is coming. The market's not going to stay stagnant for long. Thank goodness summer doldrums are almost over. So traders will get back to their desks with a little bit of a hangover, but they'll get into it. So let's break it all down. Actually, let's go to the short-term chart. All right, digging into the short term, trading right now at 113, 174. The range has been 110.8 to about 113.4. So if we're looking at the 2-hour chart, now this is what I was trying to bring up to the crew in our pro group, okay? And I wanted you to just take note of this, all right, really quickly, all right? So if I take array and I go from this point, I go down, way down to the 108 low that we said needed to hold. That's basically, in the short term, what I'm looking at right now is what I would consider a major valley, okay? Now, there are a couple of minor valleys that I want to point your attention to. There's one that comes from this top down to this low, but I'm not really concerned with that, because really I'm concerned with like where the breakout is happening right now. So if I take the ray and I look at market structure itself, I have this valley right here. That's a minor valley, okay? This low becomes now like the warning point for the whole structure. Okay, so if the marketplace turns down and breaks this low, we have the attempt to come back down to like the 109, where the open interest people, the big players long, would start to get a little bit concerned. And of course, a break of the 108 could drive the price lower. But right now, Bitcoin is actually setting up to basically kind of rally up to that 113.8 level, which is not very far away. It's right here. So Bitcoin, in order to continue its upward momentum, we have two important points on the short term. We have this low right here, and we have the deepest low that we have right here. This minor valley is really, really important for structure. Okay. Now, if I took the measurement from the minor valley and I applied it to the top, we're basically really sitting right at the resistance point. Okay. So short term, we're still in a bit of a chop, right? It hasn't broken free yet of the low at 108, but it is coiling. So the 109 really right now is kind of like the warning, okay, or a key support level. If we lose that, we could see a broader correction downward, perhaps down to like that 108, 107 level. Now we have the overall support really short term at 105,000. So we're not really out of the woods yet, but starting to see structure look a little bit healthier. Okay, so you could say, well, what about this minor, valley right here? Yeah, that's important too. So if you're looking, the most important one is from here to here. Okay, if it does something like where it comes off from here, comes back down to the bottom of this valley and holds support, then it's gaining up enough strength to come back up, take out the top, and potentially trade up to the meridian of the pitchfork that we have. If we can get over the meridian, the rule generally is we'll go up to the upper level of the tine, which is right there. Okay, we're not there yet. That actually comes in really at 117,000. So we do got a lot of wood to chop and a lot of stuff to cover in Bitcoin. But learn how to do this. Like look at the structure itself. This is just a really deep valley. Okay, well, now we got a little bit of a recovery. You could draw a trend line. You know that your warning. Okay, if you were trying to get long, you look to buy down at like say the 110, 111 area. Your stop would have to be, you could use a tight stop on it, maybe 109.2 or so. But really, like this is where the price action in this area here would really be important to watch. It's also important to watch up in here. So if we can come up in here and hold this, then Bitcoin's showing some strength to get back out through the top of the box that I thought actually the bottom was going to hold in a previous video, and it didn't, But so that's what we're seeing really on the short term. So really what we're saying is a chart that we showed you yesterday is that we could be having the final shakeout, and the open interest is the key. As I said, open interest, 2-year high, right? Both sides have been swept. Stops have been hunted on both sides. Retail, of course, is still shaking. Let's look at F&G. Let's see what F&G looks like right now. Really hasn't changed much. Still around neutral. All right. So like I said in yesterday's video, I think another dip down to 108 would actually drive this down a lot. And we buy fear, right? And we sell euphoria. So it would be playing right into our hands if that was to occur. So if we look at Bitcoin itself, like we said, the sweeps have happened. Retail's a bit shaken, but whales aren't going to exit here. They're going to accumulate coins. So what comes after that? Well, if we're right and open interest is right, okay, it's going to be a move that flips disbelief into euphoria, and we sell euphoria, right? So price discovery mode is engaged. Now, if we look at the longer term, we're seeing Bitcoin is following Wyckoff to perfection. Okay, we got accumulation, expansion, reaccumulation, and then distribution going to be occurring at like 150, 160. Now we're entering the final markup. And historically, it is the fastest and the steepest leg once it starts moving. So this is a run that turns traders into legends. You just got to position properly. Get into our pro group. We'll guide you through it, as I've always said, and we'll show you the setups that we're looking at right now. All right. So if we take Bitcoin and we look at 2020 versus 2025. Again, showed you this yesterday. We got the same accumulation, same breakout, same disbelief as happened before. The difference, the rocket has a bigger engine, and this time the runway is global liquidity plus institutions. History is not going to repeat quietly. Bitcoin roars louder each cycle. You miss it and you're going to regret it for years. So again, let's just hit the open interest right now, 2-year high, meaning massive capital is committed to Bitcoin futures and perpetual contracts. Signals conviction, but not yet direction. Okay, we got conviction, but not yet direction. We got the funding rates that ticked slightly positive, showing longs are paying the shorts. It's bullish leaning, but not yet really frothy yet. Okay, we're still in a bit of a range. And again, get in our pro group and we'll guide you through the range. Okay, we got stagnant price right now, which is equal to building pressure. Price has not moved despite the leverage. This is where the volatility brews. That's why we got to watch both sides of it. Now we already had a sweep, but we got to still continue to monitor both sides of this marketplace. Okay, so again, we got to be ready to go short and long. Now, either Bitcoin cracks like that 116 and triggers a short squeeze, or the 109 goes and it breaks the longs and they become forced into sellers into a flush lower. That would be actually drive the fear higher and us to really look for great accumulation, a level to accumulate, and we would cover that definitely if it happens. So the bottom line, volatility expansion is coming, and we're gonna have to be ready for it. Okay, now right now, as we said, Bitcoin. If we look at the Bitcoin itself, like we said, 2020 versus 2025, it's ready to roar. Okay, and I went over yesterday why you were so bullish on Bitcoin. I'm not going to repeat that. If you didn't see yesterday's video, definitely get into yesterday's video. And I just said basically $500,000 Bitcoin is just fiat math. And it's going to come to fruition. Of course, it's not going to come to fruition like tomorrow, but it's working its way through the market. All right, let's move on over to Ethereum, which is really stealing the show. If we look at Ethereum right now, it trades around 4,600. Slightly down on the day with the range of 4,472 to I think a high of 4,657 as of now. So we got Ethereum. We were looking for the discount area. It didn't really happen. It's actually holding quite strong. And like we said, this one's really the one that's leading the show right now. So I want to show you the Ethereum breakout pattern. Okay, here's the Ethereum breakout. We're saying the breakout is definitely incoming. And we want to talk about the targets of Ethereum. Okay, so right now we're looking at everything's been checked off. Okay, we had the target of 4,800 has been hit. First the 4,000, of course, then the 4,800 has been hit. Now we're getting a little bit of a retrace. Again, we're going to have some areas of resistance at, say, 5,000, 5,001, 4,900. There's going to be some, areas of resistance there, So we could get a little bit dipped down, but really Ethereum is poised to hit 6,000 pretty quickly, in my humble opinion. Okay, if we look at Ethereum as a fractal, right? If we check out this chart right here, we got Ethereum 2024 versus 2025. We're looking at 2016 versus 2017. Just think, it was only 14 bucks. Oh my goodness. All right. Anyway, the fractal's alive in 2025. That's for sure. We got accumulation. We got a fake out. We got a breakout. We got a test and then retest. And then we got the moonshot. The moonshot's coming. 2017 gave us a 5,000% return. 2025 adds Wall Street, ETFs, and global liquidity. The setup is identical. The outcome, Valhalla. Okay? Let the most hated rally start, and it is starting. Now, despite the recent dip we have, analysts, we really didn't get the dip. We were really looking to get back into, where's our discount zones here, right here. We were looking, that's the breakout, son of a gun. Where's my discount? Here it is, the discount area. We didn't even really get into it yet. Now, Analysts now are eyeing 7,000, but Standard Charter's changed. Also, their target, they're saying 25,000 for Ethereum. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So we got ETH inflows into Ethereum are running at 10x higher than Bitcoin right now, showing capital rotation, which we discussed always. Okay, so that's what's happening. That's why Bitcoin isn't really taking off. It's taking kind of a side seat to Ethereum itself. Okay, so Ethereum is just following the Bitcoin script. That's all it's doing. If we look at this, Bitcoin 2018, 2021 fractal. Okay, that had the same crash, same recovery. Okay, same coiling, and then take off. Okay, Ethereum is doing the same exact thing. It's now in the liftoff zone. The projection is 1,110%. Ignore this and you're going to repeat and regret just like you did in the last cycle. So pay attention to Ethereum. This is the one. This is the one that could really run and also set off altcoins like we haven't had before. Okay, so we got altcoins. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance again. Okay, Bitcoin dominance sitting right now at 58.20. We showed you this. We had the bearish monthly engulfing candle. We said we were tracking down. We are tracking down. So really, Bitcoin dominance is another way of looking at it. We could look at this chart right here. We had the rising wedge bearish pattern. It fell out and it's tracking lower. Okay, now if we're talking about altcoin season, all right, let's just get into altcoin season. Altcoins generally start after the halving. 2017, 2021, and now 2025. Bitcoin halves, Bitcoin drops, Ethereum explodes, alts start to go parabolic. The rhythm hasn't changed, only the scale has. We're looking at the biggest altcoin setup in years. We had a falling wedge bullish pattern breakout. Okay. Now, what we're looking at right now is 4 years of suppression. One giant falling wedge. These aren't just charts. They're the kind of structure that rewrite portfolios. And alt season is a prediction. It's the signal that's flashing right now. All we need to do is get the breakout. Once we get the breakout, we're on our way. All right, so let's go on right now. Let's look at XRP and let's look at our little H bar. All right, for the XRP army, all right, 280 main support right now. We got the 3 psychological level that has to be overcome, which is just slightly being overcome right now. 307 short-term resistance. A break of 307 can bring us up to the 315 level. 315 has to hold to get us up to the 325, 323, 325 level and get through that 343. Still, it's coiling. It hasn't broken down. It hasn't fallen out of the structure yet. So XRP, you just got to be patient with. But if we can get a break, the main breakout is above that 343 level to try to go at and attack those highs again. Obviously, the 280 is very, very important to hold. All right, so let's move on over to good old H bar. All right. Oh, I'm disconnected. All right. So here we stand with H bar right now. All right. And I'm going to take you over to WeX, the broker of our choice, because it's the only trade that we got running right now. Low fees, fast execution. All right, we're basically flat on H bar. Long at 23.88. We're expecting H bar to rally over like 27 and trade between 27 and 30, and then potentially break up to like 33. I don't know where Justin's got the take profit on this, but I'm thinking he's probably going to look to score out at around 33. Not sure. Fortunately, he's traveling now, going over to, I think, Thailand with his girlfriend. That's nice, isn't it? Anyway, Solana is ripping 4 to 8% up today. CRO, Kronos has spiked an insane 54%, showing money is rotating down the risk curve. Early investors are piling into projects like RTX, Remix, while speculative names like Leia Brit are hyped for outsized upside performance. So we got on-chain whale accumulation continues to grow for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Smart money is starting to stack. All right, so before we wrap up, crew, we got to make sure that you're well aware of our free trading community. And where is my free trading community? Okay, right here. You click this link right here, you'll be taken over to this site right here, where you can actually join our free pro group. It's all there for you. No, I don't want to open Telegram. And also, remember, you come on over to X and follow us on X, where we talk about Bitcoin, crypto all day, every day. All right, so what do you got to do? Well, you got to check out our broker of choice, that's for sure. I'm going to take you back over again to WeX. Again, the broker of our choice, low fees, fast execution. You want to follow us there? Come on over here, and you can actually click this link, and it will take you over to WeX. All right, so again, follow us on X, where we talk about Bitcoin, crypto all day, every day. Get in our live group, okay? Get in there, because we'll guide you through this. Sorry, a little bit jumpy today. Got a bit of a cold, and it's actually suppressing my enthusiasm. But anyway, make sure that you give us a like, subscribe, and as a short-term trader, what do you got to do? Well, you got to enjoy the party, but dance near the door. Cheers.